Welcome to this podcast episode on people and culture and deals. I'm Sander van Laren, director of our people and transformation team, and I have the pleasure to be your host today. I'm here with David de Smet, director of our deals M&A team. Thank you for joining me, David. Can you please give a brief introduction about yourself?
Hey, Sander. Good morning, and thanks a lot for the invitation. Very happy to be here, and indeed a brief introduction on myself. So my name is David. In the meantime, I work, 13 years for PwC, and the past 4 years I'm part of the Deals M&A team, which is a new platform, one of the platforms that have been created. It combines different teams that focuses on the end-to-end transaction, you could say. Within Deals M&A, you have different sub-teams. And myself, I'm leading the DDV team. You might have heard of that. It stands for Delivering Deal Value, and we focus mainly on the integration once you acquire the company, or the separation or the carve-out, so you can sell a part of your business or a business unit.
Thank you. Let me maybe also introduce myself. As I mentioned before, I'm part of the people and transformation team, and I would say covering a rather broad scope of people-related topics, such as culture, change management, HR, and workforce. I do have a special interest in deals because it's where all those topics come together. And I'm delighted to be here with you, David, to delve further into the role of people and culture in the context of deals and M&A. David, why are people topics important in a deals context for you?
What I really notice indeed is that for me the success of an integration or a carve-out, because that's the focus of our team, it really goes hand in hand with how well the people are aligned and how much they support the new way of working, let's say. And so for us to be able to deliver a successful integration or a carve-out, it's really critical to understand the human dynamics that are involved and to manage these aspects as good as possible. And therefore, we worked already together with the people and transformation team in the past.
And I do think that people aspects in deals are often overlooked. In a lot of cases, it starts mainly from a financial perspective. And the people and culture impact and related human capital risks comes sometimes even as a kind of afterthought in my perception. So I think it's important to spend some time on this topic today to tackle the broad challenge of addressing various aspects of people and culture during those journeys. And today we will focus on some of the fundamental elements that shape the success of deals. So specifically, we will explore 3 key pillars. For me, it's communication, it's culture, and it's the impact on HR. So let's share a bit our insights here, in which people and culture are leveraged as pivotal factors in delivering a successful transformation and integration. During the initial phase and throughout the process of a merger or acquisition, frequent and transparent communication is crucial. David, why is communication important?
It's once again, for me, it's very important to have a good communication. It's also what we see in most of our projects. It's crucial indeed to maintain the trust with the different stakeholders involved and to reduce uncertainty. Because it's not just a project like another one, I would say. There's really a chance that you might lose your job, for example, and you also feel that. I think if you speak for yourself as well, if you don't know what's happening, it always feels worse than once you know the decision, even if the decision is maybe not that good. But and so therefore, I think having a good communication is crucial for the success of an integration. And actually, if you do it in a good way, as mentioned, it can mitigate anxiety because you know where you're going, you know what will change, and it will help to have a smoother transition. If you don't have a good communication plan, it's the opposite, of course. It can lead to misunderstandings. can lead to resistance to the whole project, and as a consequence, it might lead to a failed integration or separation.
Yeah, and I think you are right, and that often there's a lot of emotion involved in these kind of projects. And that's where, to me as well, transparent communication is instrumental. So I think to all impacted stakeholders, it's employees, but also others that are involved, to effectively minimize the anxiety and to build trust and the overall intention and then the execution of the deal. For us, when we do this kind of projects, it starts with having a tailored communication plan, tailored to the context and the culture. And I do sometimes see that there is a big focus on the closure of the deal and then eventually the signing. But in between, there's often less communication, which can also create that uncertainty where we talked about the status of the transition, what's the overall intent, which is not always clear, and certainly what is the impacted, and what is the impact on the different people. I think it's important to have that holistic plan in place, to use different formats, techniques to reach all of those people, and in the end, it's indeed about creating transparency there along all the steps of the process. So I think also it's important to have there the channels for the impacted employees to express their questions, their doubts, the fear they are having. I think often there's a risk that there's a lot of top-down communication, while forgetting and giving a forum for employees also to speak up and to voice their opinions and concerns. So that's really important for us as well, to put that in place when we do those kind of projects. And I think next to that, talking about uncertainty, I think it's also important in making sure that we communicate transparent, as we mentioned before, but also to make sure it's accurate, that there is the right buy-in on each step of the way. David, can you highlight the role of effective communication in fostering trust and successful outcomes during this kind of process?
Yeah, for sure, Sander. So as I mentioned earlier, the success of a project, and certainly in a deals environment as ours, where different parties that were competitors in the past often come together, it depends a lot on getting the noses in the same direction. And as a consequence, how do you do that? Communication is key there. And in the past, we did some projects together. It might be interesting to share as well, I think since about 3 years, for each integration proposal that we draft, standardly we include also a work stream on communication. We structurally involve that because we are really convinced that it's key to include that it's key to the success, as I mentioned earlier as well. And on top of that, I think it differentiates us, PwC, from competitors, that we are the one-stop shop, which is also what we try to do during an integration by involving the other teams. And I really recognize what you just said, when we work together on different projects. I think the past year we had 2-3 projects where we worked together, where there was a communication work stream. I remember it was very important to have an end-to-end plan, to also have the end in mind already, and not just to have ad hoc communications and to do firefighting, but really draft that end-to-end plan. When do we want to have which communication, via which channel? Do we communicate to all stakeholders? Do we forget any stakeholders? It's not just employees, but also clients, suppliers, and other parties potentially. So indeed, thanks to the knowledge you have in your team, by bringing all that expertise together, it really helps us to be more successful in the integrations and the carve-outs.
What exactly is the role of culture during this process?
For me, culture, it's what is culture? It's everyone understands it, but to give a definition, it's maybe always a bit more difficult. it defines a bit how things are done in an organization. It encompasses shared values of the workforce, and also having a shared or a common culture, or not fully maybe, but at least sufficiently shared culture is key as well. What are positive elements is to have an improved workers' morale. You are more aligned with the other parties. As I mentioned, you were competitors in the past. So the more you recognize each other, the more you understand each other, it can help to be more productive, etc. If it's not taken sufficiently into account, the culture aspect, it might lead to employee disengagement. Once again, as well, to resistance to change. I think the worst thing, loss of key talent. That's often one of the most important HR topics we focus on during integrations, mainly during integrations. It also, that goes hand in hand with retaining the key people. But once again, they should recognize themselves then in the future way of working, in the culture, the new culture, etc. So as important, I would say, as the previous part on communication.
If then the strategy is to merge cultures, then it's obviously a major change, and that cannot be overlooked. And we know it requires a very long time to establish this. So I do think it's important to involve and a lot of different employees in this process from the start by seeking their input, refining the culture, having clear what is this target culture, what we are talking about, how is this enabling in the end, how our company is running, those behaviors, mindsets, values that we talked about before. And that they should be also encouraged to be part of that. At PwC, we focus a lot on that enabling of key behaviors as a pivotal step in enabling cultural changes. For us, it's also important to then communicate those shared values. What is the strategy about culture? And then create a clear plan on how to activate this culture. A key element there is appointing cultural integration champions, or we call it also authentic informal leaders, who will play a crucial role then in promoting the cultural alignment at all levels. I think while leadership commitment is definitely essential, the role of the ambassadors is also really important towards the entire organization and really embracing the changes. From your perspective, David, are there any other interventions that you think are important when we talk about culture?
Maybe one more to add on the experience again we had is to monitor it continuously and to adjust where possible. I remember on a few projects we worked together where you performed a frequent pulse survey. And I think that's really crucial as well, to do it at the start of the project, to have the starting point, the 0 point, where do we start from? And then, for example, every quarter to do a check-in and to see how it evolves. Because as you know, cultural alignment, it's not a one-time thing that's done overnight. No, it's really a long-term ongoing process. And for me as well, the pulse survey, it's important to do it sufficiently granular to the different stakeholders. I remember as well that if you do then the analysis afterwards, that you can clearly see, okay, we are integrating company A and company B, but maybe the people in company A, they are happy with how things are going. Maybe they don't have a lot that needs to be changed. I don't know. But that we see, the people in company B, maybe they are not fully with us for the moment. Because that's important to have that granularity, that when afterwards you list actions to be taken, it's easier if you know to whom to target these actions.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point, and I think it's indeed making sure there's quantitative, qualitative feedback. I do think that also typically we put those champions in place, that they also play a key role and then sharing back and escalating the feedback, concerns back to the project team and the people who are involved. Thank you for sharing that. Shifting gears to the role of HR in such transformation, how do these come into play during a merger or acquisition?
Yeah, so it's clear HR is really at the forefront of managing the human aspect in the broader sense. I think we touched upon two important things already, the communication, the culture, but HR takes it, for me, even broader to really support the smooth transition and to maintain the worker satisfaction in the broader sense. Once again, it's about retaining key people, for example. It's about keeping the motivation high to make sure the noses are aligned, for which we use then the communication as well. It all comes together a bit for me, and it's all as important for the success of the integration.
Yeah, I think as well HR should play a key role in those kind of projects. Sometimes it just involved more in due diligence, and then it's about providing key numbers such as headcount or people-related costs. But like you said, I also consider them as a really driver when we talk about those culture and communication aspects. And also do think that retention should always be a very focus area there for HR, with actively managing throughout the journey to avoid the risk of key people leaving the organization. When we talk about integration, where obviously there is also an impact on HR as a function, I think it's depending on the size and the extent of the transaction. We should assess. This should also be assessed if there's an opportunity for a smaller or a broader kind of HR transformation. Whether it's the implementation or harmonization of HR information systems, the harmonization of HR processes, policies, procedures, things that are sometimes more sensitive, like benefit plans as well, or the job descriptions and the classifications of jobs. I think it often also offers a chance to take this as an opportunity to enhance or transform the way HR contributes to the overall business. And so, I think that there should be a clear kind of approach in place about adopting practices from acquirer or target, or blending the best approaches from both organizations, or even completely redesigning HR systems and services. So there should be a clear HR implementation plan in place, and I do think that HR and their role when it comes to the overall integration, but also the integration of the HR function, is really important to the overall success.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I want to highlight again what you mentioned before as well, that for me, retaining key people, retaining the talents, that's for us one of the most critical aspects in a deal. Because these people, they have the knowledge. Often that's the reason why you pay a certain amount to acquire a company, for the human talent that you acquire. They are really critical for the long-term success.
And do you have any experience about those risks that you mentioned earlier in the case you have worked on?
Yeah, for sure. Also, where we worked together with our teams, where it's together we identified then who are really the key people we want to retain, and then together with the management of the company that acquired the target, we defined what actions can we take, and often that's a combination of financial and non-financial aspects. The non-financial ones are, for example, how do you see your role in the future in the company, to offer them maybe that role that they envisage, that they can have, maybe a promotion or responsibility for a broader team. We also see often that's even the most important aspect, certainly in the mid to long term. But next to that, there is also a financial aspect, the LTIPs, the long-term incentive plans. And in my personal opinion, I think that helps really more in the short term, because indeed a lot changes in the short term. People are a bit uncertain. How will it look like in the future? Will I stay, yes or no? So the financial plan can help, but then once you find your way, maybe you get the increased responsibility, that helps even more. And so I think it's a combination of both. And also there, the expertise you have in your team really helps us on our projects.
No, thank you for sharing that, David. And I think there's a lot to unpack when it comes to HR, but I think that was already a good insight that you have shared. So I think it has been an insightful discussion. Do you have any closing reflections?
First of all, Sander, thanks a lot for inviting me here. It was really a nice opportunity to be here. For me, a first time to record a podcast, so a bit new for me, but always nice to have a new experience. Next to that, I think it's also differentiating us in the market. If we work together, so that's really positive. But in the end, of course, that's what clients really are looking for, that they can find a one-stop shop and that they can really have successful integrations. And I think by bringing the expertise from our combined teams, that we will be able to help the clients in the best possible way.
No, thank you. And also appreciate for having this conversation with you today. David, I do think there is still a lot more we can talk about those topics, but I do think that when talking about deals context, that at least conscious choices should be made about the three topics we talked about communication, culture, and HR, and that HR has a key role there to play as well. So thank you all for listening and joining us today. We invite all of you to watch us in the space on social media, on our website, or by contacting us directly. Catch us next time on our Workforce podcast, where each month we share insights about burning challenges in the market. Until then, stay tuned and see you next time.